Hey guys, Jonathan here, and LEGO has made two different Shire sets over the years. The original being the 2012 from the Hobbit movie, and the new one being the 2025 one from the Lord of the Rings Icon series, which LEGO sent me early to review, and I'm very grateful for, but of course all thoughts and opinions here are my own. That being said, there is a huge difference between the two in terms of how they went about capturing the build with Lego bricks and, of course, the pricing. The original, like I said, came out in 2012 and retailed for $70 with 652 pieces and 6 minifigs, 5 of which were exclusive. That gives it a price-to-piece ratio of 11 cents, but adjusted for inflation, this would be $97 on today's market. Then, in contrast, the new 2025 version comes with all of the minifigs you see here, in fact, 9 of them to be exact, and it comes with 2,017 pieces, so just over triple the amount of pieces of the original one, plus we got a lot of side builds with the new one, like the tent, Gandalf's horse and carriage, the tree, and some other small little builds, but I think the only fair way to compare these two are actually comparing the builds themselves. That being said, I know that there are some varying opinions on those side builds for the 2025 one, but you definitely can't discount that there's a lot more play and display value with the 2025 one, whereas the 2012 one was more of a quaint playset, but the fact that it came with all those exclusive minifigs is definitely pretty cool. So, without further ado, let's get into that and start taking a closer look at 2012, then we'll bring it up to 2025. We'll start off by taking a look at the minifigs, and compared to other comparisons on my channel, it is hard to compare these one-to-one because the minifigs are technically from completely different movies, so even though some characters are the same, like Bilbo and Gandalf, they're from completely different points of the characters' lives, so it is not really fair to compare them and say which one is better, really just to kind of show you the difference that we got. Of course, the original set is based off of The Hobbit and Unexpected Journey, so we got many of the dwarves, many of which had really cool hat or beard pieces that were completely unique to these sets and never used again, not to mention exclusive torso prints, great weapon variants, and of course our two main characters being Gandalf, who did appear in many LEGO sets looking just like this, and an exclusive Bilbo Baggins, which was really great as well. Then the new set is very much the same, where we get all brand new minifigures, with the exception of Gandalf. However, Gandalf does have a new head print underneath. So technically he's different from the previous Gandalf from Rivendell, which does make him a new minifig, but, the rest has been reused in the other Rivendell set. But getting Bilbo in his Shire attire, hey, that rhymed. Well, actually, everybody's in their Shire attire, but it's really nice to get brand new characters that have never been made before, as well as variants on fan favorites to help build out Lord of the Rings collections. So it's really hard to say which minifig collection is better, it just depends. But I do like the fact that both sets come with very unique minifig offerings, and it's really hard to argue with that on both. So we'll start with the original 2012 set. I'll give you the 360 view, and of course, this is a classic. It's been a most wanted set for many people for many years, but with the new Shire coming out, I feel like the value of this one is going to go down now that we have a brand new one. I don't want to say it's better, but just the fact that you could go to a store and buy one for $270, whereas as of this video on the secondary market, this set sealed goes for $250 to $350. I just feel like people are just going to opt for the new one more often, but it is a nice little playset build. I think it's aged really well. As I was building it, I actually opened a sealed copy of this to build for this video, so yeah, that's pretty crazy. But a lot of the brown pieces were actually breaking, because it's brittle brown, as LEGO fans know. This era of like 2012 to 2015 brown pieces, just for whatever reason, are very flimsy. But we can open the gate up front. Well, we can open it a little bit, that is. And then, of course, the minifigure can walk through the path. So that's pretty cool. Of course, the door opens inward. We have a bench up front. All of the wood pieces here are actually stickers, not printed, but we have carrots and these cool little sprouts growing here, and flowers and trees growing all around, which are quite nice. I like how they did the windows. We saw those windows up front as well. And then in the back, we have the maps that are out on the floor, like the Shire. We've got the chest here, but the interior is actually not super detailed compared to what we've gotten in the new one. I do like that on the shelf over here, have to lift it out, we've got Bilbo's book as he's writing. But when we open it up, it's one of those old books that doesn't have anything inside, but we did get a sticker on the back, making it super, super detailed, which is quite cool. I really, really like the way that they made the inside feel so lived in. I can't get that back on there. I'll do it later. But we get 6 chairs around the table here. The table, of course, isn't quite as big or can seat as many dwarves as we see in the movie, but over on the shelf here, we have Sting and just cool shelving all around, but this is way, way, way more of a small play set than the big display set that we got in 2025, and the roof actually does lift off here so that you could get a little bit easier access to the inside. Heck, maybe it'll be easier to put the book in there without the roof on. Okay, no, it's still difficult. But overall, that's all there really is to say about this. I mean, it's just a very simple, basic playset style build. Then that brings us to the 2025 Shire. Now that brings us to the 2025 Shire. Needless to say, it does encapsulate a lot of the original charm that we just looked at in the 2012, but in pretty much every way it does it better. Not only in the sheer size of the build, I mean, look, if we put Old Man Bilbo up front, you can see how much bigger this build is, and I really like that the hillside, you know, kind of contours and goes back and just adds more depth to the eye. That's definitely a huge win. But of course, things like the printed pieces over and around the doors and windows are really nice, and just the fact that there's actually some bend to the set is quite cool. When you build it, there's 3 instruction booklets. One booklet is for all that extra stuff we looked at, like the trees and all that. The second booklet is for this middle section, and a third booklet is for the 2 end caps here. And of course, when we flip it around, you can see we do have a much more detailed interior, like this really accurate detail of the chair being knocked over. Of course, the play feature with the envelope in the fireplace that can be twisted to reveal the ring. We've got the portraits of Peter Jackson and his wife that have been hobbitized, which are quite cool. Of course, all of these printed pieces right here for the carpet, as well as the rug in the middle there. We've got the map on the table, which is accurate. So much detailing in the back. Absolutely love the mithril armor in there, and just so much more detail compared to the 2012 one. Of course, this time we also get Bilbo's book, but when we open this one up, we can see that it says There and Back Again on the inside, because the book design has changed over the years. But overall, I mean, I don't think that there's any way you could argue that this one is less detailed or less exciting than the 2012 one. Of course, we can also lift off the roof here to access the inside, let light in better, be able to reach your hand in better, and of course, that just clicks back into place nice and easy. But yeah, I mean, there's just no doubt that the original one has its own small hobbitish charm, but this new one has way more detail while keeping a lot of stuff from the original, right? Like the plant life outside and the bench and the, you know, being built into a hillside. I mean, you really can't argue that this one does it better, but both have their own unique charm, and I think that they complement each other well at the end of the day. All right, guys, well, let me know your thoughts on these in the comments down below. Needless to say, both sets are quite different, but also bring a lot of charm, and the best thing about them is they're just different enough that when you put them side by side, it actually builds out a cool little town. So while it would be expensive to do both, it definitely is cool that they integrate so well together. So let me know your guys' thoughts. Be sure to hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next video.